Hey gang, how's it going? Hope you have a great week. I'm having a great day. This week on the podcast, my guest takes us through their journey growing up in rural Oklahoma, going to medical school, and uncovering the uncomfortable truth about the modern medical industry. Support for this episode is provided by all my amazing patrons on patreon.com/redhillsrancher and my awesome subscribers on Spotify. Thank you guys so much. If you'd like to help support the podcast, subscription options start at just $5 a month. Your continued support means the world to me. Check the show notes for some links. Last week, I went on the No-Till on the Plains Dakota's Soil Health Bus Tour. We toured up through, we left Kearney, Nebraska, went up through South Dakota and North Dakota, around Bismarck, and back down. The first stop, it was at Rick Bieber's, where he showed us some really cool data about growing corn without adding fertility, just managing his fertility with crop rotations. It was pretty cool. Then we moved on to Minokan Farm, a research farm just outside of Bismarck, North Dakota, and saw all the really cool things they're trying to do to meld the worlds of soil health with production agriculture. At Blackleg Ranch, we saw some really cool stacked enterprises and effective pasture management. There's much, much more. Maybe on next week's episode, we'll talk about it. If you're wondering how I find out about all these events, all you have to do is go to kssoilhealth.org/events, and there's a fantastic list. I have it synced to my Google Calendar so I can see all the events they have listed. I think you can even sync it to Apple. Good one coming up is the Great Plains Fire Science Exchange. I am something of a, let's just say, exothermic range management enthusiast. It's coming up real soon down in Canyon, Texas. I've been invited to participate on a producer panel talking about prescribed fire, wildfire recovery, and land management concerns. So I'll be down there in Canyon, Texas. Really looking forward to networking with some other exothermic range management enthusiasts. There's another bus tour coming up that looks really cool in Northwest Kansas. They've got some great stops. And the Excellent Bottom Line Conference in Lakin. It's right around the corner. You can find all these events and much, much more at kssoilhealth.org/events, or just click the link in the show notes. If you have an event you'd like me to help you promote or interested in sponsorship opportunities, shoot me an email at redhillsrancher@gmail.com or use the contact form on my website, redhillsrancher.com. I'd also welcome things like guest suggestions, questions, feedback. I even get a little bit of hate mail. That's okay. All right. My guest today is a foot and ankle doctor that has spent a career caring for patients dealing with the long-term effects of diabetes. He's seen firsthand the damage that poor eating habits can leave on a body long-term. Dr. Bill Rutherford is an author, he has a winery, and he grows a unique variety of peaches on his Southern California farm. Wow, can't talk today. Called the Bloom Ranch of Acton. I guess that's all for the intro today. Here's the music. Here we go. Dr. Bill, thank you for joining me today. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you? And thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm doing pretty good. Hey, gang, how's it going? Hope you have a great week. I'm having a great day. This week on the podcast, my guest takes us through their journey growing up in rural Oklahoma, going to medical school, and uncovering the uncomfortable truth about the modern medical industry. Support for this episode is provided by all my amazing patrons on patreon.com/redhillsrancher and my awesome subscribers on Spotify. Thank you guys so much. If you'd like to help support the podcast, subscription options start at just $5 a month. Your continued support means the world to me. Check the show notes for some links. Last week, I went on the No-Till on the Plains Dakota's Soil Health Bus Tour. We toured up through, we left Kearney, Nebraska, went up through South Dakota and North Dakota, around Bismarck, and back down. The first stop, it was at Rick Bieber's, where he showed us some really cool data about growing corn without adding fertility, just managing his fertility with crop rotations. It was pretty cool. Then we moved on to Minokan Farm, a research farm just outside of Bismarck, North Dakota, and saw all the really cool things they're trying to do to meld the worlds of soil health with production agriculture. At Blackleg Ranch, we saw some really cool stacked enterprises and effective pasture management. There's much, much more. Maybe on next week's episode, we'll talk about it. If you're wondering how I find out about all these events, all you have to do is go to kssoilhealth.org/events, and there's a fantastic list. I have it synced to my Google Calendar so I can see all the events they have listed. I think you can even sync it to Apple. Good one coming up is the Great Plains Fire Science Exchange. I am something of a, let's just say, exothermic range management enthusiast. It's coming up real soon down in Canyon, Texas. I've been invited to participate on a producer panel talking about prescribed fire, wildfire recovery, and land management concerns. So I'll be down there in Canyon, Texas. Really looking forward to networking with some other exothermic range management enthusiasts. There's another bus tour coming up that looks really cool in Northwest Kansas. They've got some great stops. And the Excellent Bottom Line Conference in Lakin. It's right around the corner. You can find all these events and much, much more at kssoilhealth.org/events, or just click the link in the show notes. If you have an event you'd like me to help you promote or interested in sponsorship opportunities, shoot me an email at redhillsrancher@gmail.com or use the contact form on my website, redhillsrancher.com. I'd also welcome things like guest suggestions, questions, feedback. I even get a little bit of hate mail. That's okay. All right. My guest today is a foot and ankle doctor that has spent a career caring for patients dealing with the long-term effects of diabetes. He's seen firsthand the damage that poor eating habits can leave on a body long-term. Dr. Bill Rutherford is an author, he has a winery, and he grows a unique variety of peaches on his Southern California farm. Wow, can't talk today. Called the Bloom Ranch of Acton. I guess that's all for the intro today. Here's the music. Here we go. Can't complain about the weather. We've had plenty of rain, and I think it's like 85 outside today, which is unseasonably cool for Kansas. I think it was 62 this morning, like hoodie weather. Like very seasonally cool.
It was a little hot here I'm in Ohio right now. It's 93 degrees right now, and typical for July.
I mean, 93 in Southern California, that's probably hard to complain about.
Right. But it's not humid. It's nice and dry. The humidity is the thing that gets me when I come to your neck of the woods.
Oh man, and we'll get it. We can have a hot, humid summer, or we can have a hot, dry summer, and they're both different kinds of hell and miserable.
Right.
Yeah. So, why don't you kind of kick us off? Tell us about where you came from and where you grew up.
So I was born in a little town called Wagner, Oklahoma, in between Tulsa and Muskogee. Little cotton picking town there. I'm one of six kids. I'm the oldest. There's 3 boys, 3 girls. And grew up in Oklahoma till around 10 years old. Lots of hard work, on the farm, slopping hogs, picking cotton. I actually made my first order picking cotton. When I was a little boy, I was wanting to go out with all the other older kids that were picking cotton. They made me stay home. And one day I said, I want to go. And they gave me a little potato sack. It wasn't a big cotton sack. The other guy said they had a little potato sack. And I went out there. I think I probably was playing around, but I met a border. And I never forget my grandmother. I said, put this quarter in the Bible. Don't spend it. And so I remember that engagement with my grandmother. So from there, my folks moved to the head of West, go west, young man, go west. They went to Los Angeles. I did my junior high school, went to LA High School. From there, went to Cal Poly Pomona, Cal State University Polytechnic at Pomona. And from there, did some master's work at Howard University in Washington, D.C. And then I went to medical school in Temple in Philadelphia. From there, I did my surgical residency in Detroit. After that, private practice in Los Angeles. Initially, I thought I was going to go into sports medicine because at that time, my office was next door to the Forum. I said, well, maybe I can get some of the Lakers to come over here and in my office. But what I found was that most people were coming in recommended for amputation and had this chronic non-healing wounds related to diabetes. And I'm like, this doesn't need to be amputated. And so the community really dictated what it wanted me to do. And so I dedicated and have dedicated my life to preventing amputations in high-risk populations, both domestically and internationally.
Okay. Can you unpack that last statement just a little bit more and what that means? Like, what kind of amputations we're talking about?
Diabetic-related amputations in particular. African Americans have the highest amputation rate in the country and in the world. Non-traumatic amputations, because the only amputations that would rival that were areas in Africa where they had the landmines, blowing up legs. Second to that would be African Americans in this country that have the highest amputation rate from preventable circumstances.
I mean, the landmines are probably, yeah, in my mind, that's kind of like a totally different thing, but equally as terrible.
Yes.
So, obviously we're talking about feet, lower leg from like circulation problems related to diabetes. So I guess that's how you got interested in, like, that was your gateway drug into like human health and better farming.
Yeah. Well, what I realized early on in my practice, the evidence is clear that health and well-being is tied to your diet and the quality of food that you eat.
Okay.
So I started seeing a trend of all my patients that were 80, 90, and 100 years old. They all were doing the same thing. It was almost like they belonged to a fraternity. They didn't know each other. So I started documenting, and I always ask my patients, what you had for dinner last night? That one question gives you opens the door by why they're here. So I get to a point where I can look at a person's eyes and their skin. I can say, how's your garden? How do you know I have a garden? Like I can look at you. Your skin is vibrant. And then I would look at the age, 90 years old. And then I would look at the medication list. Maybe something for low arthritis, maybe for something small, versus others would come in with bags of pills. And those are the ones that were eating the hot dogs and the barbecue and the fast food joints and all those types of things.
Lots
So
of pop, lots of pop, lots of candy.
lots of candy, lots of potato chips. Oh, chips, that's the word. Lots of potato chips, right? So I wrote a book called 5 Colors of Data Better Health. And what I realized once I started doing my research and unpacking my informal survey, that they all were eating 5 colors. So the American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association, these are really smart people, of course. They'll say you need to eat 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables. You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
The problem is no one knows what a serving is when they get to the restaurant. It goes out of the window, right? So
Right.
how do you translate servings to the menu, right? So I said, let's subordinate the quantity and weigh in things to just eat by the color. So I said, I want you to eat 5 colors a day. So they said, okay, I'm going to have oatmeal and some blueberries. And then for lunch, I'm going to have a salad with some tomatoes, some raspberries, and some spinach. And for dinner, I'm going to have some yellow squash and cabbage. So your plate should look like a rainbow. So I had to simplify things instead of making everything so clinical or laboratory-ish, so to speak. Is that is what that's what you need 5 colors. Count to 5, then you know 5 colors. So I had to really break it down. However, I would do these career day type things for kids, in like elementary school. So I had to break it down even further for them. And I would have a little contest, like which table can name the most yellow vegetables in purple, like that they're raising hands. So I said, name something red. So there's a little kid in the back that's raising his hand very enthusiastically. Let me choose him. Barbecue. No, barbecue is not one of the. No. Barbecue is not one of the colors. And then I went to another school, and it's a little girl, name something yellow. Cornbread. No, cornbread is not one. So we find that a lot of our people have a very limited vegetable vocabulary. When I go to the store sometimes and I'm getting a variety of things, and the checker has to go and look it up, which means that no one's hardly ever buying this. She has to call customer service or whatever. Can I get, can someone tell me the price of this?
Or she
Right?
doesn't know what it is.
That's what I'm saying. so, so they don't know what it is. So I was in the store one day. I was getting ready to do some juice, and this is before I started doing my farming. And I just had a basket full of vegetables. And people were looking at me like an oddity. So one guy they get the curse and said, "So what's up, bro, with all the greenery?" I said, "I'm ready to make some juice." And he was scratching his head. So what is normal has been considered abnormal. What's abnormal is normal.
I think what's crazy is maybe somebody saw you with your basket of vegetables and overheard you say that you're going to take those home and make juice. I wonder how many people went back to the drinks cabinet and bought a bottle of like vegetable juice or fruit juice from the grocery store.
No, because it doesn't taste good. That once the real thing doesn't have enough sugar in it. So you have to be careful with all of the landmines and booby traps with how things are classified. 1 calorie, no calorie, 0 calories, no fat, no this. If it doesn't have something, it's loaded with something else.
Just don't trust labels anymore.
Well, I have a patient, I had a patient that was 104 years old. And all of my patients that were the oldest, I would quiz them about their diet. I would sit down and really want to unpack. I want to learn, what do you do?
Did you get deep into their history too? Like
everything,
your whole life? Okay.
Everything. I unpacked it all. Well, this man said, you know what? If it has forget about reading the label. If it has a label, I don't want it. He said, I don't eat anything with it. Like, he said, he's very religious and very spiritual. He said, do you think I would trust what Dan would slap on the label in the back of the garage? He said, I trust when God comes out right from the ground. So
that guy might be the smartest one of all of us.
He said, if it has a label, I don't want it. He said, do you think I would trust a man that would print a label in this garage and slap it on the bottom? Think I would trust that? I would trust God what comes out the ground. So, and he was healthy and lean and strapping. And I found that, and this is important to most of my male patients who eat healthy, they're still having good intimate relationships with their spouses. Yep. So forget about Viagra. You can get a lot of work done with beets. Beets are amazing, nitrous oxide and things like that. So with health and vegetables, you got to, in my opinion, talk about what's important to people. People want to have a good life, and good sexual performance is one of them. That's a fact. Everyone is talking about Viagra. Let's talk about some beets. Right?
Yeah. I mean, right. I don't know if beets work for me, but I don't need the Viagra pill.
Right. Exactly. So I'm just saying that when you eat a healthy, if your plate looks like a flower or a rainbow, not just that's working well, but that's an indication that everything else is working well. Sometimes if you have cramps in your legs and problems in those intimate places, that's usually a harbinger of what's to come. And usually is a sign, a shot across the bow that other end organs are affected too. Eyes will be on the way. Kidneys are down the line. A stroke is down the line. Amputation perhaps is around the corner as well. So that's you. So impotence is, or direct erectile dysfunction is an indicator of cardiovascular disease, progressive cardiovascular disease, that other parts of the body or just around the corner that's going to be affected. So you're talking about the tiny blood vessels that are affected from a heavy fat diet. Smoking is an incredible culprit in accelerating cardiovascular disease.
Yes. Yes. I mean, can't disagree with any of that.
Right.
So kind of back to diabetes, which, was kind of like your gateway into the whole health food side. Um, w- why are so many of us diabetic now? Like your opinion, your personal opinion, like versus 20 or 30 years ago today, why are we all fat, sick, and diabetic versus in the 70s, everybody was skinny and wearing bikinis on the beach?
It's interesting you mention that because I'm not sure if you saw the show, popular show with a lot of African American Soul Train, was a little dance thing, and everyone was skinny in the 70s doing the splits and bouncing back up, and their shirts were tucked in and small waistlines, all that, right? And so I did a study on the size of a McDonald's hamburger during that time. During that time, it was a small hamburger like that, and a large Coke was maybe bigger than my teacup, maybe a little bigger than this, right?
Yeah, like a 20
Uh,
ounce was a large.
And as time went on, the sizes got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you have the Big Mac and you have the quadruple, this and that. And then they have hamburgers in Southeast Los Angeles called a Master Burger. That's the size plate, right? Okay. Master Burger. Everyone likes to go to the Master Burger stand. They give you these gigantic hamburgers. The meat that's like slabs of meat, right? So to answer your question, several things have happened. Physical education got taken out of the school. I'm not sure how old you are, but during that time, it was mandatory. It was not optional. You were given in junior high school, you were given your locker, your shorts, and the workout PE, and if you had shower, it was mandatory. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in my mid 40s and
Okay. I've got a few years here.
grew up in a real small town. So like shit that happens in California, it takes 20 years to get out here.
Okay. So now they take out physical education. When I was coming up, my mom was trying to holler and screaming to get us inside the house. Now you got to get these kids outside the house. You can't get them out because they're doing computer games. When I was doing it, it was like, Billy, time to come in. It was, it was getting dark. It was time to come in. That's not the case now.
Yeah, we didn't want to come in because we were having too much fun outside.
We didn't want to come in, right? So I'm going to take you down the ladder. Larger portions of food, less physical activity.
And they took the nutrients out of the food too.
Yeah, to make it more flavorful and make it more addictive. Top of that,
and to make you want more because you're not getting the nutrients to satisfy your body. So your body wants to eat more.
So you have nutrient, absent, foods. But more importantly is the marketing. So now you have more channels to market people. You got social media, you got YouTube, and everything you get on YouTube. You don't have the paid ones. There's an ad popping up every 10 minutes. And then and they have the marketing down to a science. Well, they know now with artificial intelligence, they say, oh, you know what? He's been clicking on, and they study the profile. They know exactly where you're located. They know exactly what you want. They know your buying habits, so they know how to serve it to you perfectly. So I study the mind a lot. So, and with the mind, meaning how do you get people to act? In my opinion, there's 3 steps: thinking, feeling, and then acting. If I can hit you enough times with a commercial to make you think about this hamburger, to make you feel like you deserve a break today, okay, and you start salivating inside just by thinking, the mind is probably, you start thinking about something long enough, every thought has a, a companion chemical. If you feel sad, there's a chemical for sadness, you start crying. There's a chemical related. So you think, and then you have a cascade of chemicals to complement that thought. We know how it is when you feel angry. You're just thinking about someone that did you wrong 10 years ago. Your heart can start beating, oh man, as hell, what it did me. You may even start sweating just from a thought. So now let's back into the soul thing. I get you thinking about this hamburger or these French fries and all this stuff dripping on the sides, right? And and then they put someone who is not in shape but looks like you, so you don't feel oddball. So the people on those commercials, big and fat, most of them are, and comfortable and proud to be obese, right? While they eat the hamburger. So there's no,
but we can't fat shame anybody.
no guilt. So no guilt. So he's not guilty. He's not ashamed. And then, so now I'm thinking about it, feeling. Now I want to go do Uber Eats and I want to get in the car and go get one like that. And then the cycles are so now just your question, years ago, they didn't have so many channels to get a hold of your marketing. Even when you go to the gas station in certain areas, take the gas, knock. Hey, did you know they start selling to you? If you go to the men's room, they have some restaurant, they have a camera, right? You can't even take a pee, but someone's marketing to you, right?
Would never get my business again. Like if you're trying to sell me something on a video screen while I just need to take a leak,
yes,
I don't need to do business with you that bad.
So to answer your question further, we don't know or appreciate the power of the mind as much as we should. So we're like, they're fishing in the pond. It's like sitting ducks. They know the power of the mind and really mind manipulation and thought manipulation more than we do. So as a result, they have more commercials based upon ethnicity in the right language, the right music, the right feel, the right groove to make you feel comfortable to buy something that's not good for you. So I'll tell you a little story. I was at a conference and I said, the 99 cents hamburger is a real weapon of mass destruction. And everyone started clapping a little bit. And then during the end of the break, some guys came to me in suits. And they said, hey man, why are you so hard on the 99 cents hamburger? And they showed me business cards that they were executives for me. And I said, we have healthy choices. I said, you don't eat that crap. Do you eat that stuff? I said, you didn't do the R&D. You just put that out there to try to keep people like me quiet.
Yeah, well, we've got salads at McDonald's now. We offer healthy choice. Nobody ate the crap and they don't sell them anymore.
Right. So we have healthy choices. And I said, that's just for decoration. You know that your income and your bottom line has nothing to do with those salads that are dried up, look like crap. So then I told them, I said, you know what? Let's do this. When do I do a field trip to your headquarters? I'm going to round up all my diabetics that are either blind, on dialysis, with wounds, and amputations. I'm going to load up a bus and take them to your headquarters. Let's do that. Sometimes you have to go rogue like that to get attention. Right. So they begin to backpedal like that. I said, I'm the one that's got to look these patients in the eye and say, you know what? There's nothing else we can do for mom and dad. Amputation is the only solution because mom and dad wouldn't stop eating fast food or mom and dad get hooked on fast food It was find like crack, and would find anyone willing to go down the street and grab a hamburger and eat in the closet eaters, because they were hooked. My mom passed. My mom should still be here. She had diabetes, and she would not stop eating fast food.
Is it the burger or is it all the crap that's on the burger?
It's probably everything, but mainly it's, I think once your palate and your stomach and your body becomes accustomed to it, I'm sure they've done the science to make you addicted to the chemicals, the smell, and all that stuff.
Well, I've heard this on. I think I've heard this several times in the last couple months on a Joe Rogan podcast, that the same people that worked at the cigarette companies that made cigarettes addictive, the cigarette companies bought food companies, and it's the
Sure.
people that are trying to make things
But
addictive as possible. And I get it. Like, if your business is to sell widgets, you want people addicted to widgets, so they buy widgets.
well, to the tobacco industry, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what was called the African Americanization of menthol cigarettes. Are you familiar with that?
I mean,
Well, let me
look,
tell you.
okay, I know that when I was growing up, I smoked. And when I was in the Navy, I smoked. And if there was a pack of Newports on the ground, I could just about bet you a white person did not drop it.
So let's talk about real quickly, and this ties into health, and so the food industry modeled the marketing strategy of tobacco, because tobacco did such a great job. And so they actually took those techniques. So let's talk about the African Americans. 90% of African Americans smoke menthol cigarettes. That's by design. So what happened is the tobacco industry realized that the Black community was this big, massive, untapped market. So how can we get to them? So in the old days in the country, when I would try to sneak and smoke, it was my uncle's old Camel cigarettes with no filter on, right? And you would hack and cough. You'd have such a bad experience, you wouldn't want to smoke it more. What menthol does, it blocks the cough reflex. So out of the blue in the 60s and 70s, we started seeing all of these ad campaigns with very slick African Americans swinging in the park, having a groovy time, glamorous. You had the Cool Jazz Festival. You had all these things where the tobacco actually embedded itself into the culture of African Americans, even to the point where many of the publications were struggling for funding. They could only get funding from tobacco. Essence Magazine, Jet Magazine, and Ebony Magazine really could only depend upon funding from tobacco. So now they incorporate themselves deeply into the African American experience. So now what happened? So you end up smoking, it blocks the cough reflex, and then menthol is a bronchodilator. So you're going to dilate, no different than putting menthol on your chest when you have a cold, and open up your lungs.
Open up
Right?
your lungs so all the crap gets in there.
All this. So now you're absorbing all of the carcinogens. You're absorbing all of the crap and all of the nicotine to even make it more addictive. So surely what happened 30 years later, the cancer rate in the Black community off the charts. Throat cancer, bladder cancer, prostate cancer, all a tsunami came. The studies are there, right? And so let's talk about some sensitive things. If we're still going to talk about environment, and tobacco actually is something that prevents or negates the healthy eating. Well, once the Black community realized, you know what, we got to do something about this. So they call it flavored cigarettes. So they wanted to ban flavored cigarettes, but they were only successful in banning those that were popular by other ethnicities: strawberry, mocha, chocolate flavored cigarettes. They banned those, but that menthol, because menthol is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
And those
So
people donate to a lot of politicians.
there you go. Now you're talking, right? So now you have someone like me talking to someone that is at risk of amputation. That's what we're not going to do. At risk of amputation.
You good?
I'm good. And they continue to smoke because they can't kick the habit. So now let's go to fast food. The fast food industry, you know what? I want to be like big bad Marlboro. I want to have a line of people lined up. I want to have customers for life. What did you do? Right? And so they were able to drill into the psyche and the cultural nuances of various groups. That's what fast food has done with that. So here we are now, little old me, fighting a bear with a stick for the most part. But I'm committed to.
You're not alone, Doc. I mean, there's others out there. There's others of us out here.
Okay, and I know that, and that brings us to how can we band together and have a. And I want to congratulate you on what you've been doing with your podcast and with farming and things like that, and giving someone like me a platform to get out there and sound the alarm. Who knows? Maybe something like this may go viral. It would be good. Everything else goes viral.
You know, it's important to hear different voices and different viewpoints other than just, we got to feed the world. We got to feed the world. Or shut up, or you're just going to give the vegans more ammo. Hey, you know what? I'm not giving the vegans any ammo with any of my animal husbandry practices, any of my land management practices. Maybe we ought to take a look at that feedlot. Maybe we ought to take a look at that chicken barn or that hog house. Like, you want to talk about animal welfare? We can talk about it. We can talk about it all day. But that's a conversation a lot of the industry doesn't want to have. It's like they don't want to have a conversation about herbicides and pesticides and soil and water erosion. They don't want to have a conversation about that. Like the farmers just north of you in the Central Valley. They don't want to talk about where their water's coming from, that it's coming out of the Colorado River water that hasn't been to the ocean in 60 years, and they're pumping it across 2 mountain ranges for basically free and using a lot of immigrant labor to pick their crops.
Yep.
You know, we can't talk about that because we got to feed the world, right? We got to feed the world. And
Right.
it's really difficult to go almost anywhere in ag and question what anybody's doing. Because then you immediately get labeled, you're anti-ag. You know, why are you against this? Why are you trying to talk out against other farmers and ranchers? Or you're one of us. We got to feed the world. We need to stick together. No, we're not feeding the world. We're not feeding the world soybeans and number 2 dent corn. I'm sorry. You're feeding cows in a feedlot. That's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, growing strawberries or almonds in California. Great. Like, I question why we need to have thousands of acres of almond groves. Yeah, it's a good crop. Yeah, it makes a lot of money. It's also incredibly water thirsty, and you're growing it in a desert with water you pumped over 2 mountain ranges. Why don't you
Yeah.
grow something that makes sense?
And so with Bloom Ranch, that was kind of
Hold on. What is Bloom Ranch?
so Bloom Ranch is the largest African-American owned Black-owned farm in LA County with over 250 acres. It's the Santa Clara River begins at Bloom Ranch. And
For those of us that are bad at geography, that goes down into LA and out.
Yes, to the river. So it's the longest unobstructed river in California, the Santa Clara River.
Okay.
It begins at the mouth of it, begins there from the mountains. And so we've been blessed with about 12 water wells. They were just tested actually a couple of days ago. And there's a ton of water everywhere on the farm. So we use that water. And so some of those pumps are going to tie into solar panels so we can keep the electrical bill down, actually use that solar to pump the water from the ground.
Cool.
So So Bloom Ranch is actually I acquired it about a year ago in October, a year, but we've done a tremendous amount of work there. It was pretty left in a state of disrepair. It's a 127-year-old farm, peach farm. It was founded by homesteaders from Switzerland, and the original owners homesteaded that property, and there were stone cutters. And that stone cutter actually cut the stones at the LA City Hall, Los Angeles. So that's what his job was. So that property has a lot of the original structures that are still there now. And even those structures are made from the rocks and stones from that riverbed.
That's neat.
Yeah. So if you look at some of the footage on the website, bloomranchofacton.com, you will see the stones and the houses that are there, the structures that are built from stones from the riverbed. So I acquired this property, and sometimes as a businessman in your life, it's good to go with your heart and not your head. Sometimes you can outthink yourself out of opportunity. Had my business managers looked at that property in that state, they would have said, "Don't do it."
They would have run away screaming.
If there was a wrong way, because it was like a junkyard. It was all kind of old things there, but the pictures were good. But the pictures were struggling. But even with that, the pictures were absolutely fantastic. There's 3 variety of peaches. I can't remember them right now, but those varieties were developed on Bloom Ranch. You can only get that variety of peaches there.
Flum's Beauty, is that one of them?
It's it. That's it. It's on the website. Sure.
See, I did a little background. I found
Yeah, you did a little background. So I decided to take on this challenge, kind of a blue ocean moment. Sometimes in life, you want to do some things that are not so predictable and have a little fun and just kind of shoot it out there and see what happens. And that's what happened. I'm glad that I did, because we've been able to impact the local community. We hire a lot of the local people there. We have a lot of people who work the farm as well as the farm store. We just started our subscription program last week, where we're actually shipping what's called the Bloom Box in the state of California. And we are going to have a program where we partner with local churches to get some of these fruits and vegetables to underserved community to help deal with food deserts in LA.
Before we go to food deserts, next year when your peaches come in, if I wanted
this fall,
how could I get a hold of some of your Blum's Beauty peaches?
You just say the words.
Okay. You ship them to me?
I shouldn't take.
All right.
All
right.
Make sure whoever organizes, make sure I get your address, and I'll ship you some of those peaches. And we have an amazing pears that are unbelievable. And when I purchased the property last October, that was kind of the end of the peach season, but there was still some peaches there. I had a little dinner at the winery, and one of the guests said, "Have you ever had a grilled peach before?" She never had a grilled peach. So I split that baby in half, took the seed out, and put it on the grill real hot. And that sugar, fructose, whatever, started caramelizing. You're talking about something. Heaven must be like this. That thing was so good. It was incredible. So that has been one of my things I can't wait for is in the fall is to have some grilled peaches and cream. Put a little cream on it too.
I mean, of course, from, a raw dairy, like raw.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
So when I was kind of doing some of the background, I did see a for sale ad for the Bloom Ranch from about a year ago, and I was like, I'm gonna have to ask him about that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Why? You said it was a decision you made from your heart. So what pulled at you? Like, how did you find the property for sale? How did that happen?
Well, it never hit the market. So that was the first time they tried to sell it. They didn't get any bites. And so actually some of the workers and good friends of mine that work from the winery, I've been knowing this African American farmer for over 25 years. So there's some property and acting you may want to look at. We get some time when you drive out. I drove out. I met the owners, husband and wife team. They did the best they could with their resources at that time. And we cut a deal that was good for me and good for them. And then initially I thought I was going to have buyer's remorse. Like, what have I done? I can just, should I have done this?
I just jump into.
But retrospectively, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It's been a full circle moment. As I mentioned, I was born on a farm in Oklahoma. And so typically, so this is not my typical where as a surgeon, foot and ankle surgeon, I'm usually wearing the suits and of course the ties and all that stuff. So now I go to my medical conferences dressed like this. So now I consider I'm a big clone with the doctor and the farmer. So now the goal is to connect to redefine pharmacy with FAR, pharmacy, so to speak, and talk about how nutrition and well-being actually begins from the ground up. And in the book I told you about, The 5 Colors of Data Better Health, has been a complement to the subscription program and the farm.
Now, during your time in your medical school and all your medical training, how much did you learn about nutrition and how to feed the body?
0.
0.
You learned about the Krebs cycle. You learned about, how food is broken down, amino acids, things like that, but never about food as medicine. Maybe something like eat a balanced meal, blah, 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 exercise, but nothing in any really explicit details. And because of what I've done in my cross-pollination existence of being a healthcare provider and a farmer, I've been able to speak kind of both languages. So now universities in LA are reaching out to me to talk to medical students. So they actually want to bring them to the farm, take your white coats off them and get you in some dirt, right? And get to shovel a hole in a pickaxe. And we're going to really talk about how real food and is developed. So that is coming this fall, where I have a group coming from Charles Medical School that will be coming to the farm, and I will be going there to lecture to them about that.
Okay. Very cool.
Let's just start. So I think that the healthcare system, they know that they've done a very poor job in educating healthcare providers. And some of them, my biggest complaint, I'm an exercise fanatic. I teach a Zoom class every day for my main company, the Womb Pros, with about 15 of my executives. And as a healthcare provider, you got to practice what you preach. There's nothing worse than a patient says, the doctor told me to lose weight, but he was bigger than me. He said I need to lose weight, but I was looking at his big stomach like, something's wrong with this picture.
Yeah, don't say anything about my triglycerides, okay?
And they sit there, stupefied that the doctor is saying that they need to eat right and exercise, and they're bigger than the patient. So we have problems everywhere. I mean, it's real everywhere you turn, there's problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't go to a traditional doctor. I go to an actual functional medicine doctor. I pay him every month. It's kind of like concierge medicine.
Nice.
And it's fantastic because if I call him and I tell him I'm feeling bad, he asks me what I ate.
So you assume that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's the patient. The big question is what you had for dinner last night, right?
Yeah. What did you eat last week?
Yep. All that. I started probing around. In one patient, and I'm pretty involved with the community. Says, my legs are swollen. I don't know what's going on. And she's kind of a hypochondriac. I said, are you eating any processed food? No, 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 I'm eating right. I didn't go to the emergency room. I said, no, you don't want to go to the emergency room because it's COVID. So you need to stay at home. So she's complaining. I said, I said, can you have one of your family members? Her son called me. The son calls me. I said, I want you to do this. I said, when you get off work, go by mom's house and you call me. So he gets there, he says, I'm here. I said, dude, put me on FaceTime, please. They take me straight to the kitchen. She's got me on FaceTime like this. And the mother is there. And she says, where are you going? I'm going into the kitchen. She's sitting there in her chair. He's walking by. Where are you going? I'm going to the kitchen with Dr. Rutherford. Wait a minute. I said, so open the refrigerator. Look at him. I said, oh, what's that right there? Oh, that's barbecue. Okay, pull that out. What's that there? That's hot wings. As get it all together, you put it on the tray and sit it in front of mom and put it on camera. Mom, this is what you call Dr. Rutherford's drive-by. This is my virtual drive-by. Where I said, Mom, this is exactly what's causing the feet to swell. So most people who have edema, swollen legs, congestive heart failure can be traced to nitrates and all the additives in processed meat, barbecue, hot wings, hot dogs, and don't even mention the top ramens and a couple noodle soups. Those will send you to the hospital in a heartbeat because of all the sodium is just off the charts.
Yes. I just think of all the college kids that live on ramen and fast food, and maybe that's why we have a health epidemic in this country.
Well, I think the biggest, to me, security threat is the health of Americans. Who's going to take care of us? Who's going to fight? I know they have technology, things like that. But you get some young kids, and I have some nieces and nephews, and they said, we want to get to know you, Uncle Bill. I said, we'll meet you on the farm. Not at home, but you want to get to know me, meet me there. And I said, this is a pickaxe. This is a shovel, and this is a rake. Well, one group said after that, they said, we're not going back anymore. We love it, but we can't handle it. Too hot, too much work. The other group, they're getting leaner. They're burning calories. They're having fun. And there's a lot of science to back up the power and the overall wellness of farming and gardening. First of all, you've got to be present. You can't TikTok and Snapchat while you're digging a ditch. The two don't go together. You got to be present. And the sense of accomplishment that you've nurtured something all the way from a little sapling or seed, and you watch it grow. So the law of the farm comes into place. You learn to be patient with life when you can see something, and to see that you've cultivated something from a seed to something you can actually eat. That sense of accomplishment has a lot of mental and emotional well-being. No different than when you get a seniors that love pets, that they got to take care of something. When you have to take care of something happens to your soul. And then we talked about the microorganisms that are in the soil to help keep you strong. Not all bugs are bad. Some bugs are essential to your well-being and essential to growing a really good healthy crop.
So one way to look at it is we're just kind of a weird walking meat suit full of water and microbes and bacteria.
Yep, big soup of that. Big vat of soup, water, bacteria. Big vat of it. Right. And then you're in the sun, you get some vitamin D. And studies have shown that you can burn between 400 to 500 calories raking, hoeing, chopping every day. So you work out there 4 or 5 hours, you can almost burn 1,500 calories. In a good work day, maybe more calories than that. You can burn 3,000 calories if you're really working a full shift. So you don't need a Peloton. You don't need a treadmill. You don't need any of those other things.
Don't need kettlebells.
You don't need kettlebells. You don't need to do burpees. Just get out there and commune and fellowship with Mother Nature. That's what's called fellowship with Mother Nature out there. And I think that can be the answer for me to help mitigate a lot of things that we're seeing. But, still, we need to redefine what society is, or a sophisticated or upward mobile society. We look down on some of our ancestors that were in the rural parts of the country, growing their own foods. They were healthier, they were leaner. They had their challenges, but they lived off the land. And so for me with Bloom Ranch, I have to tell them the best of both worlds. I go into the city one day a week, see patients, and I head back to the hills.
The more time you spend at Bloom Ranch, how does that make you feel when you go down to LA to go to work?
Well, you really hit a nerve.
Lay it on me, brother.
Well, the longer that I've dissociated myself from the city, the more the city seems like a foreign country to me. The more it seems like I'm on a movie set of some Star Trek planet. Right? Where
it doesn't seem real. Like sometimes towns,
it doesn't seem real, it doesn't seem natural. People are living on top of each other, and you hear everything your neighbors are saying and doing. And oh, you took my parking space, or you stepped in my grass, and you're making too much noise. And I don't have that at all. I can hear the leaves blowing in the wind. I can hear birds early in the morning chirping. Nothing else. I can see stars at night. Look there and look at the moon. And it's so beautiful. You don't get that in the city. So for me, as a very meditative person, silence is where creativity happens. We have so much interference now with technology in the city, you can't even hear yourself thinking. So you wake up every morning, you're taking bullets. You don't really get a chance to think and be present. So I believe in taking moments every day to be silent, to be still. So at Bloom Ranch, gratitude is a very important thing, to look up and smell some fresh air, not air with all the motor exhaust, right? And so for me, I think that I'm healthier, and I'm definitely more grounded mentally, physically, and spiritually at Bloom Ranch.
I like it.
Yeah. So I'm in a good space with Bloom Ranch, and I get a chance to grow 5 colors a day, and I'm healthier because I'm eating from my farm every day. And
Sure.
Yeah, so I eat something every day from my farm.
Tell me about the winery. How long have you had that?
That's 2 years, 2.5 years. That's another blue ocean moment too. No one asks me about anything about grapefruit wines. I don't know anything.
Okay.
So I've been coming to Ozempic for the past 15 years for a long weekend. In LA, it's quiet, and I go from Thursday to Sunday, or Friday to Sunday, and just relax and unpack. And before I get rested really good, I'm on my way back to LA. The pandemic hits. I'm going over. I said I'm going to go there for a week. Well, we turned into a month, into 6 months, and then to a year. It's that kind of like here. So I started doing, we got a little property lease option to buy. And then my broker said, there's a lady who wants to walk away from a winery. Life has changed. And that's what gave me the address. I don't know anything about wine, but I'm interested to see what that's like. I meet her and I looked at the property and I can see the vision. It was in kind of a slight state of disrepair, bushes everywhere. And I said, this feels good. So Ojai, as you know, is in this thing called the vortex. If you look up, talking about vortexes or spiritual places. So you have a lot of writers and producers that are here in Ojai. Really. So my youngest daughter, we call her the Dionne Warwick of the family. And she said, Dad, do you know that you're the vortex? So what's the vortex? So I looked it up. So Ojai, Sedona, Mount Shasta, and other places have this spiritual thing that everyone talks about. So I felt that there. And I said, let's did a little offer. I did it. And that was another moment where I said, Bill, what did you just do? If you lost your mind, you're a doctor, but what are you doing? Are you out of control? You start talking to yourself a little bit. And I was there one evening. I had one of those moments, and a shooting star goes across the sky. It was beautiful. And that, to me, I said, that's part of my sign that's going to be okay. And that has been another opportunity for me to really be centered away from the city. So now the winery is my new business office. And I'll tell you why. We as humans have billions of nerve endings ready to engage with the environment. That's what you have her sites to protect you from harm or to move away or to move closer. So at the winery and the farm, I get a chance to engage all your senses. So in business, typically it's a Zoom call, a spreadsheet, a brochure, blah, 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 and a website. But now as I develop as a businessman, I want to engage every aspect of you. I want to engage all of your senses. So, taste this blueberry. I never tasted blueberry. It tastes so good. Let's walk a little further. Have you ever smelled chocolate mint? Oh no, never. Take rubbing your head.
Smells just like chocolate mint.
Yeah, right.
That's why they call it chocolate mint.
Right. Have you ever seen what really oregano looks like in the plant form? This is the best antifungal, antibacterial. What? See, this piece is out. But look at how beautiful the mountains are. So now I can do business or smell the fresh air. Okay. And sound that you don't hear the noise, you hear nature now. And I know that property at Casaloches in the winery, that oak tree that's about 500 years old, according to what they've said. I call her Big Mama. And Big Mama has these branches that undulate and just go on the ground like this. You've seen those trees that kind of go like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those are rare in California. And I call her Big Mama. So the people who visit, they go and spend some time with Big Mama. Sometimes they cry and they're overwhelmed with the energy of the tree. Have you heard about that before? People becoming overwhelmed.
Okay, I felt it. So it was right at 10 years ago. I was getting ready to I was doing some workups to do a project with a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Partners program. We're going to come out and we're going to clear some invasive brush and trees on the ranch. And I was walking around with my guy from Fish and Wildlife, great guy. he listened to the podcast. I can't say his name because he's a federal employee. So we were out looking, and like we went down to this one little spot, and I had to take a leak. And I was like, okay, you go over there and look at those trees. I'm going to go over here and take a leak. So I walked in, like just kind of poked in by these cedar trees, and I'm doing my thing. And I look and I see this branch of a walnut tree, and it's kind of laying like right down on the ground. I'm like, huh, that's weird. I didn't know there were any walnut trees down here. So I finished my business. I shook off and walked back in there a little bit deeper, like, and to go find this tree. And I found it. So I went, I got my friend. I was like, hey, come look at this. And he come over and look at this. And he was just like completely wide eyed. And he said, we got to call the Kansas Forest Service. I think this is a record. This could be a record for this tree. And I'm like, yeah, you're bullshitting me. He said, no, I really think that this is one of the this is the biggest walnut tree I've ever seen. You got to call Kansas Forestry Service. Okay. So I did. And they came out and measured it. And for just a little under 2 years, the world's largest Juglans microcarpa, which is little black walnut, was on my ranch.
No way.
This tree, Bill, was 26 feet, 6 inches around at the ground.
What?
26 and a half feet around
That's a monster.
at the ground.
What did they eat it? 1,000 years?
We didn't. Okay, so here's the rest of the story. We never pulled a core out of the tree, but they did come out and they did measure it, and they scored it, and it was, it did score the largest of that species. Displaced the number 2 tree, which actually is on my eye doctor friend's ranch that's 3 miles away from my property. So now the rest of the story. I'm working on this tree project, trying to clear all these cedar trees out from under. So it's a juniper, invasive juniper, burns really, really hot. So trying to get rid of all those. I was literally just I just needed a few more days, a couple more hours in the machine to finish the project. And the last thing I was going to do was take out the last few trees from around this walnut tree. I went and I borrowed an excavator from my neighbor just because that was a better tool to kind of do that precision work and not damage the tree. I went and I got that excavator, tracked it up to the job site. It was 4:30. I decided I'm not going to start this project today. We'll go back to it tomorrow. 2 hours later, there was smoke in the air. And for the next 4 days, we fought the Anderson Creek wildfire. And the Anderson Creek wildfire burned up my walnut tree.
No way.
Yep. But it didn't kill the roots. The roots are still alive. There's new greenery coming off of it. Got the Forest Service back out, selected a couple, so they're being it's being taken care of. But that wildfire also took out the number 2 tree of that species.
No way.
So it went to the 3rd largest over in Clark County, Kansas. 49 weeks later, Starbuck wildfire killed that tree.
Wow.
So now they don't know where the biggest one is, but yeah. So big tree, I think it was 66 feet high, but it had a crown spread of 104 feet. It was just short, but just monstrous.
And when you see something like that, it dwarfs you.
Dude, baby Indians were made under that tree.
So it dwarfs you in that when I go to talk to Big Mama, I say, girl, you've been around for a long time. You've seen some things. You were here when I was born. My mom and daddy was born, and their mom and dad was born. Give me some wisdom. So I go over there and I just sit by Big Mama. And the other people, they become emotionally overwhelmed. They shake. They hug the tree. Tree hugging is a real thing. I didn't know it was as real until
people actually do it.
For sure. For sure. It's amazing.
All right. We're going to shift gears here. I got to know from a doctor, what do you think about Ozempic being given off label for weight loss? Do you think that's a responsible practice or no?
That's a good question. So I'm kind of on the fence, and I'll tell you why. Some people need a jump start emotionally to get the wheels turning. And some people have struggled with weight and they just want to see a few dress sizes smaller and maybe say, someone say, wow, girl, you're looking good. And to jumpstart them to, because the weight loss and obesity, it has an emotional component to it, a self-esteem component to it, some things related to maybe unresolved issues of self-value, self-love. So if you can get jump-started and just get a little inkling of what it would look like if you took steps further, right? However, I don't like it for, because I'm going to eat all the hamburgers I want to. Because next week I'm going to get some Ozempic and I'm going to be fine. That, I don't want it. I would not recommend it for that group. But for the group that needs to get just a little weight off those knees so they can walk further and become active. Some people get a little pressure off those ankles and knees because it's difficult to say that some of them, they're so obese, they are this far from becoming a B12, right? And once they have an accident or a broken bone, then that's usually the beginning of the end. They weren't that active in the first place. And now you want to be active to rehab themselves. That requires you to be active. And then they never get up there in wheelchairs and the bedridden from there. So the goal is to, if I get enough weight off this person, if they really have changed their mind, if they really say, I want to live. And I tell my patients, I ask them, I say, do you want to live? If you want to live. And they say, well, it's hard. It's hard, eating right. It's hard being in ICU.
It's harder being dead.
You're right. It's hard. So in my office at Inglewood, across the street is a cemetery. So sometimes I have to walk them outside. So let's take a little walk. I said, what's that? They said, it's a graveyard. I said, that's what your alternative is. I said, no one rides for free in this world. You either pay on the front end, on the back end, but you will pay to use this body. This body is you are renting this body. So you will pay for renting this body as you go, or you would pay on the back end, but no one rides for free. Right?
That's a good way to look at it. Good way to look at it. Never thought about it like that.
No one rides for free. So they say, I said, well, it's hard. I said, no, what's hard is having an amputation. And what I do with my patient, when I go back to the Ozempic thing, I'm pretty graphic and I try to hit them to the core. So there was a family members that the mother was very, high profile. She had a lot of degrees, but she was obese, diabetic, smoke. And I said some very tough things to her. I asked her, was she mentally okay? What do you mean? I said, anyone with all these degrees, something must be wrong. If you're eating up everything is not nailed down to smoke everything, something must be wrong because you're supposed to be educated. She says, get me out of here. I've never been so insulted in my life. I'm never coming back. Well, the phone rings an hour later. It's her children. How dare you talk to my mother? You know who she is, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, you know what? Let's talk about it. I wouldn't mind having a family conference. Being that all of her 5 kids came in, foaming at the mouth. So this is what I did. I said, I'm glad you guys are so concerned about your mama. She's this far from having a stroke or heart attack. So I just like to know who will be the first one, if she survives a stroke, to put a diaper on her. That they all looked. I said, I went in the drawer, I got a big king size diaper. Right. I said, and who's going to volunteer to, number one, change her diaper, not once, but 3 or 4 times a day? Who's going to volunteer to turn their living room into a hospital bedroom there? who's going to volunteer if she can. They have a bell buzzer or a bed that every time she went to some, So who's going to volunteer for that?
Nobody wanted to put their hand up.
But crickets. Right? And so I said, so I brought reality to them. I said, this is what your family is up against if mom doesn't change her ways. So the goal is I would imagine, is to keep mom as independent as possible so you all can live your lives.
So you can be independent as possible.
Exactly. Right. Then that brought the reality into it. So back to Ozempic. If someone hears my little sermon and says, you know what? I want to do better. I've heard the word and now I'm ready to get on the right track. Ozempic would be perfect for someone like that, for a jump start to get them going, not as a lifelong crutch.
So, and that leads me to wonder, okay, just hypothetically, somebody comes to see you, you think they're a good candidate for Ozempic, and then 3 months down the line, yeah, they've lost a little bit of weight, but they're still eating the same crap. Their blood work still looks just as bad.
I'd say no, but I would stop it. I'll stop it. Only to get them going. So, some of the patients, are diabetic. So they would benefit from the diabetes control with, but some of the people that are non-diabetic that are at risk of becoming diabetic, if they become bigger and gain more weight and continue to eat, I call it out of the garbage can. I say, you know what, you might as well just eat out of the garbage can. You go right there. That's what you're eating at the garbage can. Okay? So yes, I would recommend it for those who want a jump start and change their habits and their mindset to get them going. Those that say, oh, you know what, I'm going to a vacation on a cruise and I want to be skinny, I want to be cute. No, not for those.
Yeah, you need to get your ass to the gym workout in that case.
Exactly. Exactly.
Grab a shovel and, go dig up tomatoes.
Exactly. So one lady, she's, 400 pounds. And she says, she comes in because her ankles are hurting her. So I sit down. I said, has anyone ever told you about maybe your weight is the cause of your ankles hurting you? Because she wants a second opinion to me. Nope, nobody ever told me. I said, no one ever told you. It's hard to believe. I said, if you were an ankle, like at the foot skeleton, if you were an ankle and you had 400 pounds on top of you, I think you would hurt. Walking on concrete.
Bam, bam. All that repeated impact.
All that on concrete. It said, when you have pain, the body, pain is a beautiful thing because pain lets you know that something's wrong. So look at pain as your body is saying, please stop doing what you've been doing to me. If you haven't, go ahead.
There's times when I've been out here for so long and we go to town and we're walking like on sidewalks or something, I'll go walk in the grass right off the sidewalk just because it's just better on your feet, just that much less impact.
Absolutely. We weren't designed for pointed shoes and concrete and heels this high, and
information coming at us at gigabit speed and operating 2-ton vehicles hurtling at 70 miles an hour down the road.
It's not, we were not, our bodies were not engineered genetically like that for the millions of years. Body was not. So the body is resisting this rapid change in its nutritional environment that was not genetically designed for over the past 50, 100 years. So you have the body that's designed for running down a rabbit or running down a squirrel or climbing
away from a tiger.
Exactly, from a tiger, or chasing down an antelope, and then, uh, no potato chips and things like that. So the body was designed for being engaging with the environment. Now you're sitting on your ass and you don't even want to get up to change the TV. You'll fight, well, where's the remote? Where's the remote at? Right, remote. Where's the remote? You don't, it's not, you realize how late that you don't want to get up and change the damn television.
You remember TV with maybe 3 channels?
Yes.
Now
Yes.
there's how many million?
Thousands. And so you have information overload, overstimulation, and inactivity, hyper connected to social media, cell phone, text messages. So you're completely consumed with information and maybe disinformation and overstimulation and all types of things.
And it's all taking your presence and your attention out of the natural world.
Out of the natural world, where I believe real success and opportunity lies with being present. And the farm and gardening is one of those few things where you can be present, because you can't chit chat and Snapchat and Instagram when in your garden with a little spade and you get seeds and your mind is present right there. And so you're not thinking about the past. You're not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. You're present about what you're doing at that moment. And I think that gardening and farming is probably one of the best mental health regimens someone could do if they're struggling with mental health. Usually mental health, they're thinking about the past, how they was abused as a baby, or neglected in their mind, or someone that loved me. And you begin to re-traumatize yourself over and over and over again with your thoughts. So you'll be living it again and you cry again. But with farming and gardening, I think there's less of that because you're present and you're not re-traumatizing yourself over and over again from your mind.
I like it. I think that's really great. We are kind of running a little short on time today.
Oh, yeah, I had a
I'm not kicking you off. Like,
Okay.
we're not done yet. Like, what else do you want to talk about? I know you got some upcoming events. Do you want to talk about those?
Oh, we've got, so we had a great event. So talk about some noise we had. We had Juneteenth event at Low Ranch where we invited a lot of Black farmers locally to talk about, what can we do to work together? What can we do to address food deserts and cardiovascular? So my goal is how can Black farmers be more engaged in a bigger conversation other than just growing fruits and vegetables? How can farmers be involved and at the table, no pun intended, at the table when legislators are talking about how to address these issues in urban communities? You get the cultural competent thing. We can grow foods that are culturally appropriate, the collard greens and the yams, other things that African Americans like to consume. So yeah, the culture of Black farmers should be a part. So Bloom Ranch, my vision is to be a pilot that could be replicated across the country. A lot of farmers are struggling to get their products into mainstream channels, which may not be financially viable. But I believe that if they were part of, working with clinics and working with hospitals and working with schools, that their products can be used and their value would be more appreciated versus being beat down by wholesalers like that. So I believe that the model of going directly from your farm to something, to market, to a school, a clinic. So I'm even experimenting with all of my patients will get a free blown box just by being one of my patients, I get a monthly box with the leafy greens and lettuce and vinaigrettes and things like that. So I can begin to change the narrative of, of, what the relationship to agriculture should be to patients.
I was thinking, like, aren't you kind of shooting yourself in the foot by sending your patients better food to eat? But then again, you want to make people better, not just treat sickness.
No doubt about it. So I would rather make money or sustain my livelihood by selling prevention versus trying to deal with sickness. So most doctors, I don't have maybe the creative wherewithal to have that balance. So for me, I would rather, I feel better and have more joy by having sustainability off from the farm than in treating diabetic wounds. So I want to start giving my patients who shipping them vegetables, and I want that to send a message to the world as a provider. I don't think there's any providers that have a farm. I mean, they have farm, sure, but they're going to give it to all their patients that you have. That's a part of being one of my patients that you get a bone box.
I mean, I'm trying to take that in, and I think it's just absolutely fantastic. So, my doctor, Dr. Jeff Davis, I actually had him on the podcast back on episode 58. He's trying to do something not similar, but he's trying to do something that's kind of, I guess, an analog. He wants to have a health campus and have the gardens there and have the chickens there and the goats and the sheep, and maybe not necessarily the cows, because they do take a little bit more land here, and have the cows somewhere else. But and we talk a lot. Like, we've got a Signal group chat. I talk to Jeff several times a week. Gonna have to tell him about this. Like, that your idea of sending a food box from the farm to all your patients. I think that's fantastic, Doc. I really do.
I appreciate that. Something that came to me this weekend in my silence, and that's what's powerful with being quiet. You can think and then create. I said, what I want to do, because you're going to give away something anyway. You're going to give free, care, or someone doesn't have insurance right now, or they need to get their insurance signed up. You never turn anyone away. So you're constantly giving anyway in healthcare, giving dressing and someone can't afford it. So I would rather give vegetables as a part of my 10% give back of my tithing, so to speak, to my patients.
I like it. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you or learn more about your operation?
You can find me on DrReleford at Instagram or IG. That's Dr. Rutherford, DrReleford at IG. You can find me on Facebook at Dr. Rutherford. Also, too, you can go to BloomRanchOfActon.com, BloomRanchOfActon, ACTON.com, and you can reach out to me there as well.
Okay. I'll make sure we get all those in the show notes, Doc.
Well, congratulations on your platform. Absolutely had a great time talking to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. And I really, really enjoyed the conversation. For those of you out there in podcast land, we talked for almost a half hour before I managed to mash the record button. We had a great conversation. Maybe not all of it be shared on, not all of it probably suitable for podcast, but it was a great conversation. And I've really enjoyed your time today, Dr. Bill. And I'll let you get back to Ojai.
Thank you so much. Take care. Have a good one.
Yep. Have a great week.
Cheers.